Good job.
Woo! Good. Good. So, success. And the reading so far, everyone had a good time?
No.
Cool, Jared? Good. So we have one reader left, and he's pretty new to Seattle, correct?
Yep.
Right? So why don't you come up and you can tell us a little about how that's been.
Cool.
Oh, no.
Oh, no.
Oh, okay, so just leave it there. Okay. Okay, so. Alright, so, Greg.
Yo, what up?
So, where'd you move to Seattle from?
Well, I was in Philadelphia.
Philadelphia.
Yeah. I had been there for 2 years. And I was born in Illinois. I grew up in southern Maine outside of Portland. And I went to school in Rhode Island and then moved as fast as I could out of that state because of the economic shift. It was one of the worst in the country. To Philadelphia, which wasn't so much better, but it was bigger. And I lived in North Philly and far North Philly, where I was the extreme minority. And then I lived in a neighborhood called Fishtown, which was the opposite, where it was like all white people. And then I moved to this area in North Philly that was a pretty close to downtown, and it was in a warehouse. And so I moved here.
Can you tell us about your favorite part of the literary community that you experienced in Philadelphia? Your top pick?
Yeah, so in Philly there is this group called Philly Sound, and they're fronted by two poets, Frank Sherlock and C.A. Conrad. I encourage you guys to check them out. They do a lot of weird mystical things, including somatic exercises where they're on the streets and they're interacting with the public. They don't confine themselves to one kind of venue or one kind of setting. They really like to experiment and play around. It's really a tight-knit community there, so at times it felt exclusive, but really it's a national community, so they invite people from all around the country to check them out, and I liked that. I thought that it was a really good introduction to poetics on a national level that, you know, isn't something you're studying in school, isn't something that is archaic, that's from previous generations, from the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s. It felt new and it felt now, and I dug that.
Do you feel like that's something you want to try and bring to Seattle?
Yeah. Well, I don't really know Seattle that well yet, so I don't want to make the claim that it isn't here. I think that there have been a lot of surprising elements in the Seattle arts communities, and the poetry scene in general is obviously vibrant. There are events every week. There are multiple events every week, nightly, and I think I've seen a lot of national people here and international people here, and I've always felt like I needed to be a part of that, so I'll try to integrate into it.
So what are you going to read for us tonight?
I have a little bit of this, a little bit of that. I have multiple projects all the time. I usually only read something once, and then I ditch it. Because I'm writing so much, and writing profusely, and I come from a background where it's spontaneous, it's instantaneous, it's automative, and it's exciting, and you always have to be changing your art. You always have to be looking at it new. And I still believe in the concept of old and new. A lot of people don't anymore, and I forgive them. But I believe that one project settles one moment, and then you move on to another project. That's kind of been my philosophy, my aesthetic philosophy, for a while now. Ever since I studied Dadaists, Surrealists, and then more recently the Fluxus movement that was going on in the 80s and 90s, and then a bunch of recent kind of protest movements that have incorporated art into their work.
So I will just give the floor to you, and we'll see what happens.
Thanks so much for having me.
Okay, great.
Okay. Who here has seen a mosquito in this building? Right now, today?
Oh, no.
Okay. Good. Because this would not have worked otherwise. prayer for the ghost mosquito. Not even a single mosquito, no wings to transport it to an arm of soft, hairy tissue. No eyes to peer to pores, no mouth to suck up inside a single sweet drop of blood. Not even a reason to raise the energy, to raise the hand, to swat and smack the air, to notice it. A being, dart between space and periphery. Now, before I get selfish and read all my shit, who has a glass here? Anybody? Okay, cool. So you all notice there are these amazing little notes on here, right? Yeah. Let's start and just read them in sequence. So raise your glass and I'll just point to y'all and you will proceed to read them. Teresa, would you like to start?
Do with me as you please.
And is that your nose?
Why did you put that on?
I'll help you get naked.
Who's she dreaming about?
Anybody.
Oh, no.
But I did have a filly, a little blue filly.
Surrendered like a sailor by the sea.
I'm not impotent. When I moved here, I realized that this city is very spread out. It's spread out more so than Philadelphia, which is 3 times the size of it. And therefore, this being a city of neighborhoods and Philadelphia being a city of neighborhoods means 2 completely different things. To travel from one neighborhood here to another neighborhood like Ballard is a challenge with public transit. And I come from Philadelphia, where it's not a challenge. It would take a third of the time to go from one side of the city to the exact polar opposite. And so when I moved here, I started doing poems very traditionally because my mind was very, very in this very transitory mode. And I wanted to simply capture snapshots of these different places that I was going. Because every neighborhood here, like many neighborhoods in many other places, many other cities, many other towns, many other whatevers, has its own feel. Seattle poem number 21. Saw off the lowest limbs of the trees and pile them up in chaos at the base. Tear off the wheels of their newest car and belt them into the 4 clean seats. Rub off the layers of mold and bottle it up, then take routine huffs to inspire sickness. Enter the grocery store with $10 to purchase a carving knife and bandages. Or spend your money more wisely. Buy some cat food and rat poison. Look at the cashier and ask that person what they think about it. Return home. Rip off the wallpaper and then glue it back on. Mail empty envelopes to your only contacts. Turn the dial of the watches to inverse time. Dissect clothes and use scraps for your bed. Converse to destroy your sense of pleasure. Number 22. Fremont's bleached canvas flipped down dabbles into a revival of muddy surfaces. The rain freckles destroy the glass purity. The pause of the breath damages travel. Dogs are walked without leashes. A bearded man stacks stones into a pile. He yells along the gutter at a pedestrian. Another man is passed out with celestial texts. The gravity is cruel and leaves heads craned. 3 women in front of Lenin await communion. There is a cruel dichotomy with an army of gnomes. I look at the industrial segmentation. I look at the rows of illustrious garden homes. I follow the arc toward the troll's crooked nose. Someday someone will plant dynamite on Aurora and blow all of this away into abyss of saturation. Number 23, been stumped, Madison Thruway, got my fare in a pouch, a damp dimple waiting to ooze and breathe, bedding motion, a time to secure flesh, strange words, I can hear the height, Gravity's down like crushed bus lines. No stops for blocks. I can smell strange odors. Heat jackals in yellow, dancing with bright green. The air is a sponge or a death, a collated collapse. The dollars run drier and drier. Number 24, hearts are flown into the screens with a smattering of splatter. Tell them you are relieved that you won't be back before it ends. The electrical fences we move our bodies into give off those sparks. Down on the highway, a strange hybrid of currencies rotates. The palms are neither of bark nor skin in this urban evening. A brake is tapped lightly, and eventually there is the release. Certain people smile from certain places, and it is different now, here. They have taken their obnoxious clothing out to advertise. It is shocking to think that the watermarks can be seen in stretches when the lighting is so poor and the bulbs are so long gone. They are smiling, clutching their greasy chicken legs to mouths. I am wailing away toward outlets in the walls, waiting for the vibration. Stories below it, you can see the support beams in the structure. Everything is lit up in that disgusting orange death lighting, light pollution. It is worth more to think about this than experience this around here, and now they are jaywalking and cracking open aluminum cans. The tabs have been ripped off and pressure applied. The smiles are all sticky with soda and sugar and water and stains. A place exists where the laziest folks go, and they call it home. Number 25. No number 25. Number 26, in a land of lack of wishing wells, near the programmer's studio, in the crease of the storage closet, rests an enormous costumes candor. I'm slushing around with a corn chip inside of a lucky mango salsa bowl, looking for the last generation's best eyes and finding only empty socket prayers. When you were too young to remember and I was busy with eons of experience, there was the solitary instance of fork, the destination of the wall and the power. The decorative clothing was a swimsuit, and it sits upon a purple plastic hanger, and I am feeling the fabric beneath fingers. I am thinking, not doing so before I was an idiot. At the drive-in back home, it was dusty. Soda cans were left cracked open like coffins, and everything reminded me of Mexico. Nothing in Seattle reminds me of Mexico but you. Nothing in you reminds me of spice. Superheroes aren't spicy enough to be you. I am taken aback by the crunch of cash. The pain in my gums grows greater still. So, in France, the Marxist group, in the 50s, 60s, 70s, Guy Debord did them as well. They were poems that were, and just kind of situational events and applications that were done once. They were meant to be fleeting. They weren't really meant to be. These poems and dialogues will probably be thrown out or recycled, I guess. Seattle likes to recycle. And that will be the end of them. But I'm going to share them with you because I think it's fun. And I'm going to bring up some participants as well to help me out with this. So first off, Meredith, could you come up and engage with me? Cool. Just, I guess on that second hello.
Hello, number 2.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. This is called dialogue. The first thing that the girl noticed.
The web attached to her head.
Brushing it off, she noticed the second thing.
Muscly kid with a gaping, gritty frown.
Spittle dripping down.
Back then, in the cell.
This was all she could think.
Large enough to be alone.
Roughly big enough to hold 50 people.
The only problem is this wad of trash.
But it's not that easy, and she knew it.
Realizing what had to be realized.
He then grabbed her by the hem.
Grabbed her skirt with a twist.
Sneers and smiles leaked out of her face.
Saddles up onto a dull metallic bench.
What's your name?
What's yours?
Answer my question.
But who are you?
Cracked shut.
The subway stop. Crackling grimace. Eyes clamped shut. We spied resolution.
Too much to drink, drank.
Too much to drink, drank.
Buried beneath
Mounted flame.
the subway stop.
Light panel cracked shut.
Make tragedy, make hope. Make tragedy, make hope.
Too much to drink, drank.
Crackling grimace.
Mounted flame.
Eyes clamped shut. We spied resolution.
Light panel cracked shut. Thank you, Alex. Josie, can I offer to do a performance with you? All you have to do is stand. You have to do nothing but stand.
Sure.
Okay. Teresa, would you like to join? Okay. So, I was a research study patient. That was one of my. Okay, cool. I'm glad you can relate to this.
Yes, I can.
So, you need some money and you look up the foundations or the colleges and it's like, we'll give you these experimental drugs, or take this much blood out of you, and we'll give you a chunk of cash and, it's not painful and it's not going to harm you.
For long.
Bane stories. Arms open doorways. Body place stiffens, bruise-colored earwax, purple embroidery, dirty silk sheets, the dead meat, our body lashed in light I speak. You were here before, so lying down is easy. You were here before, so it's easy to lay down. You know those needles so well it creeps you out. You know those faces so well they look crooked. Each piece of metal has a place it can go. Each point of metal has to be inserted. Up and down my arm, near the elbow, the vein is stiff. The inflammation is normal, but brings alarm. There are 4 hovering over me, peering, pressing, rubbing. Do you feel this? We haven't seen this before. We need to know everything so we can report it. We need to make sure everything is okay. Side effects. Medical review board. Haunted blankets. Doing it sideways, bored and calm, hollow heart rate, the mentioned ashes, pass-out perversion, escalation. The memory of being a patient is mostly white. The memory of being a patient is mostly white. You were on that bed and you submitted to them. You were on that bed and you got down to it. You let your head be scanned and fluids be injected. You let them take your blood and now it's theirs. The left wrist is a war zone, a stare at the insertion point and the recognition of the dot where the large needle was immersed into arterial pressure just a week ago. The bruising has continued up to my palm. It looks like a delta. 2 days ago, my palm went numb and I threatened it with a phone call, but I never called. I never picked up that phone. Instead, I wore my watch tighter and pretended I knew something about my circulatory system. What is a circulatory system? If there's any bruising at all, you need to give me a call so we can make sure everything is okay. I go to the gay bar on Beacon Hill. Anti-magnetic, portal site, sterile prying, zero metal, arm-wrapped bod, the humming cocoon, the sarcophagus noise, cerulean interior, straight and still. You were sent to the basement for a scan. You were brought to the basement for an MRI. You were told to strip down in the bathroom. You were told to put on scrubs and wait, and the rooms were all empty down there. The rooms were cold and unused in that corner. The technician was nice enough to provide me with a slideshow that I could watch while getting my head scanned. I asked what they were going to scan and they didn't tell me anything. I got to watch a slideshow instead. I got to watch there with my head facing this mirror on the roof of the MRI machine, which reflected images of photography. The photography was coming from a PC, probably in another room. There were pictures of children and animals and food. Most of the pictures were from National Geographic. The entire process lasted just under 30 minutes, and I made it through the slideshow 1.5 times. I didn't fall asleep. I watched the slideshow. During the MRI, there were very large sounds being shot at me constantly. It sounded like music, but I doubt anyone else thought so. I had to wear earbuds and headphones to prevent my ears from getting damaged. I paid attention to the music, and after 5 minutes felt the magnetisms and the sounds. My body was having a negative reaction from the MRI machine, but I didn't squeeze the help ball. I didn't squeeze it because I wanted my body to explode, and it felt like it was going to explode. My body felt like it was at risk of exploding. Death by magnetism. The reason I do these things is for curiosity and the after effects. What next? What next? Thank you very much, guys.